Meditation as it is has been taught traditionally was not taught to just reduce stress. Meditation was taught as a way to put into practice the teachings that came from the traditions. This is typically considered to be the case for traditions like Buddhism or Taoism or Hinduism. But actually, if you do some research, you'll find out that it's true for all religions. In the mystical form of all religions, that meditation and these teachings are pretty much the same. In the Jewish religion, it's the Kabbalah and the mystical teachings. In Islam, it's Sufism, the mystical teachings. So we're really talking about a fundamental teaching about the nature of human beings, the nature of consciousness, the nature of reality. And in all of the teachings and traditions, the teachings are meant to be put into practice through meditation. The fundamental teachings have to do with the recognition of what's called the truth. The truth shall set you free. So, what is the truth? Well, the definition of the truth is that the truth doesn't change, right? The truth stays the same. That's why it's true. It's always true. The truth cannot be questioned. It's not conceptual. It's not a belief system. So what is the truth? If it cannot be questioned, then it is always the same, and it's undeniable, and it is the foundation of all teachings of these kind, the truth. And so what is the truth? What is that which doesn't change? What is that that's undeniable? It's not a belief, it's not a concept. Well, what it is, interestingly enough, is you. You're the truth. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean the experience of your existence, as awareness. Is it deniable? Is the experience of your existence deniable? Do you have to believe that you exist? Do you have to learn that you exist? Does the fact of your existence change? Does it have a beginning or an end? If I tell you right now, stop being aware, can you do that? So this gives us a place to start, a place to take a stand, a ground of being, so to speak, right? Is this undeniable truth, which is the fact of your own existence. There's nothing realer to you than your existence. So this gives us a place to start. Gives us something called the truth. And then the other thing is that the point of it all, why are we interested in the truth? What's the point? Well, the point of being interested in the truth is that there is a condition that human beings typically experience of dissatisfaction. And a typical human experience is discontent or dissatisfaction. Always wanting, always needing, always trying to improve, always trying to hold on to what feels good and feels secure, always trying to avoid what feels bad and threatens your security. So this is a condition, a human condition, that has been called in Buddhism suffering, dukkha, dissatisfaction, discontent. And if you, and most of humanity is not actually experiencing the reality of their discontent, because most of humanity has conspired to be in denial about it. Most of humanity has conspired to be in denial about it. And out of that denial, if you ask somebody how you doing, they say, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine. And we know that's almost always, if not always, just playing the social game, right? Because we really don't want to know. You know, if you ask somebody how you doing and they really told the truth, you would stop asking people how you doing. You know, because you really don't want to know. You don't even want to know yourself how you're doing, right? So this is the motivation for seeking the truth. You know, that if there's this condition that we're experiencing that could be called discontent or dissatisfaction, then there is this desire or this interest in seeking some answer to this. Is it possible to be satisfied? Is it possible to experience contentment? Is it possible to feel at peace? Is it possible to be happy? And when I say is it possible to be happy, I don't mean it the way most people think about happiness. Most people think about happiness within the condition. They think about happiness inside the condition. Happiness inside the condition is a function of what you get. You know, if happiness is out there in the world, and in order to be happy, you have to get something. You have to change something. You know, you have to get a facelift, or you have to get more money, or you have to get a new car, or you have to get a better relationship, or you have to get a promotion at work, or you have to on and on and on. So it's an endless pursuit of happiness, right? It's in the Constitution of the United States, isn't it? Yeah. Pursuit of happiness. You're guaranteed the right to pursue happiness. Good luck. And you can pursue it all the way to your last breath. Right? So the happiness that we're talking about is not the happiness that comes and goes. Right? It's not like everything that comes and goes. Because if you start to face reality, one of the things there is to face is called impermanence. Nothing lasts. Everything that comes goes. And so it leaves people in this state of instability and insecurity and desire. And for most people, on top of that, there's this phenomena of denial. I'm okay. I'm fine. Because one of the things that people are afraid of is the truth. And when I say the truth, I mean the truth about the condition that they experience, the truth about what it's like to be them, the truth about how they feel, the truth about the thoughts they're having, the truth about their experience they're having of being frustrated in this endless, in this never-ending pursuit of happiness. And this is why people commit suicide. You know, they get to a point where they see there's never going to be an end to this. It's hopeless. Everything that I thought I could get that would be the answer turned out to be the next problem. And you see this a lot of times in people that have really accomplished a lot in terms of, you know, what we all think will make us happy, right? People that have a lot of money, people that have fame, end up killing themselves. But then there are other people who get to the same point, but instead of killing themselves, they actually kill what they consider to be themselves and then discover freedom, happiness. Buckminster Fuller is a good example. When he was 30 years old, he was suicidal. But he, in his wisdom, took enough time to have the consideration, well, what if instead of killing myself, I just go on living, but when I go on living, I'll live as if I had killed myself, so I'll be free to really risk anything and do anything, because I'll go on living as if I did kill myself. This was a pretty intelligent approach to suicide, and that's what he did. And after that, he took big risks and was thinking things that he wouldn't have thought if he stayed small, and created the geodesic dome, and became famous. Famous inventor, famous thinker. Same thing with Eckhart Tolle. He was about to kill himself. And fortunately, he took a few moments to look at what he was about to do, and he realized, wait a minute, who is this self that I am about to kill, and who is the one who is about to kill this self that I'm about to kill? And he realized something's wrong here. Something's wrong here. I can't be the one killing myself and the self that I'm killing at the same time. Something's wrong here. And when he looked at that, the bubble popped. When he looked at that, he actually saw reality, saw that there wasn't two. He had a non-dual experience. It blew his mind, and he was unprepared for it. He didn't see it coming, and it took him a while to get himself grounded again. So there are examples of people who have this breakthrough and come to see what's called the truth, and come to experience this happiness that is a natural state. They call it sahaja, the natural state. A happiness that doesn't end, a happiness that is not dependent upon circumstances. And because these people have these experiences, it gives others the idea that, well, maybe that's possible for me. And in fact, the people that have these experiences say it is possible for any human being to have these experiences. I am not special. And they do their best to try and talk about it, to other people. And other people come to them, and want to find out, how do I get where you are? How do I experience the truth? How do I have this happiness that doesn't come to an end? And it's a very challenging process, right? To try and talk about something that's non-conceptual, to try and talk about the truth, because the truth is non-conceptual. To try and explain what happened when there's really no explanation for it. And so people like Ramana Maharshi, one of the famous people in India who had this awakening experience when he was a kid, 16 years old, was terrified of death. And he was so terrified of death, he really wanted to know what happens when you die. Out of fear, because his father had died and it freaked him out. And so he actually laid down on the floor and pretended that he was dying and that he was stopped, that his breath stopped and his body was in rigor mortis. And he really allowed himself to imagine what happens when you die. And then he saw the truth, experienced the truth, and it blew his mind. He ended up spending the next 50 years in an ashram in India, and people from all over the world came to sit with him and ask him questions and try and get what he had. And in the beginning, he didn't speak. For a long time, he didn't speak. He just sat there, because the way it occurred to him is that I can't tell you anything about this. This is non-conceptual. So maybe if I just be here with you, this experience may be an experience that you begin to have. And so there were people that came to see him that just by looking at him, looking at them, they had this experience of the truth. So what do I mean when I say they had this experience of the truth? Well, what I mean when I say they had this experience of the truth, what they actually experienced was that they didn't exist. That's the truth. So you see, it starts to get a little complicated, right? How can I experience that I don't exist? Well, you see, the truth is paradoxical. And the truth is paradoxical in the sense that you can experience that, now watch, you can experience that you don't exist by experiencing that who you are isn't who you thought you are. You can experience that you don't exist by recognizing that the awareness that is the reality of your existence is not who you have been being. You've been being something that you learned to be that covered over that truth, right? And covered over it so completely and so thoroughly that that truth didn't exist anymore, and what existed was this person, this personality, this body. And so that's what gets discovered, that you don't exist. You don't exist as the idea that you have had of yourself. That is the idea that almost all of humanity believes that they are. And so it has a lot of intensity as a belief. It has a lot of intensity as a reality, because in the world that we live in, reality is a function of agreement. This is an important thing to understand. One of the reasons that you have believed that you're your body, and one of the reasons you have believed that you're a personality, is because everybody agrees that's true, don't they? Yeah, just like everybody agrees that a piece of paper with a picture of Lincoln on it is worth something. But it's just a piece of paper, right? Just like everybody agrees that a certain rock is valuable. It's just a rock. So agreement is a very powerful aspect of how reality is created. And one of the things that is agreed upon by almost everybody is that you are your body, you are your personality, you are your name, money is worth what it's worth, time is real, it's possible to be happy, right? And all those things are considered to be real. That's why, that people who are living in that reality completely look at the idea that you're going to sit still and not do anything, called meditation, as ridiculous. Ridiculous. What the hell are those people doing? What do they think they're going to find? There's nothing to find. You should be out making money. So the truth is available to all of us at all times, because we are the truth. You are the truth. The truth that you are has been so thoroughly covered by your conditioning, and so thoroughly covered by your beliefs, and so thoroughly covered by the agreements in the world about it all. And you've been living in that role. You've been playing the role of being a person. You've been identified as a body, right? So that's what's familiar, that's what's known, that's what's been real. And here you are getting a message that none of that's true. And even if you see that truth for yourself conceptually, such that you recognize that, well, maybe that has been the problem, maybe I ought to look into this, maybe I ought to be a seeker, maybe I ought to get involved in this process of seeking the truth and realizing my true nature. But then you have to walk out of here and go back into the world in which that's crazy talk. And I can tell you if you go outside of this room, those of you who have been around for a while and kind of get the concepts of this, right? If you go outside of this room and you try and talk to people about this, you'll find out what I mean. you know, in terms of that's crazy talk. They'll look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about that I'm not who I think I am? That's crazy. You must be getting involved with a cult. You know, the thing that's interesting is the real cult is society. The real cult is institutionalized religion. You know, the real cult is what's considered not to be a cult, and the people who are in that cult consider the cults that have to do with the truth and reality to be a cult. It's backwards. So if you have been fortunate enough, you know, to be interested in this, and fortunate enough to be willing to deal with your own mind, and fortunate enough to take on establishing a meditation practice, that's a blessing, right? Because you could say one of the things that is said about the truth is that everything that you do is just happening. You know, as you continue to see things as they are, especially if you continue to understand non-duality, right? Part of the understanding is there's no doer. Part of the understanding is the you that you thought you were doesn't exist, and therefore the you that you thought you were never did anything because it never existed. And therefore it can't do anything, therefore you can't do anything as that you. Everything is a function of your conditioning. Everything that you think. See, here's the thing about free will. It's not that hard to see. You think that you think you have free will, right? You think that you think you have free will. What has you think whatever you think is your conditioning, isn't it? What has you think whatever you think is your conditioning. Therefore, there was never a you thinking anything. The conditioning is the programming that got put into your brain that produces the thoughts you have, that produces what you do. You see, there's no doer. There's nobody doing anything. Now, the good news is, whatever the case is, somehow that conditioning also included your being here, didn't it? So somehow your programming was programming that was blessed in the sense that, you know, whatever the real source of all this is, has programmed you to end up here right now, has programmed you to be available to the discovery of reality, to the discovery of the truth. And so even though you have no free will, whatever is happening seems like it's going well for you, right? Because you're here, and being here means that the possibility of you waking up and recognizing who you really are, and the possibility of actually experiencing happiness in this life is something that is more available to you than to most people. So then, you know, if that's the case, of course, what you want to know is, okay, so how do I get the job done here, right? How do I get the job done? Well, that's where it gets interesting, right? Because the only you that could get the job done is the you who you thought you were that doesn't exist. And so what has to happen? What has to happen is you have to just keep trying. You have to keep trying to get the job done. You have to keep trying. Now watch. I mean, you can get this conceptually and it won't help you, right? You have to keep trying not to be who you think you are. You can see what I'm saying when I say that, and it won't help you, right? Because the thoughts that will occur in your head will still be the thoughts of the conditioned person you think you are, and you don't know how to get out of it. And you can't get out of it. Even somebody who wakes up and experiences enlightenment, experiences total freedom from the whole thing, right? If you talk to them, they still talk the same way as everybody else, right? They still eat, they still move around in the world the way everybody else does, right? So you can't get out of it, you know? I mean, if you were to wake up and realize who you were as pure consciousness, and you were going to continue to exist as pure consciousness, you would have to go to a locked ward. Because you would not be able to function, would you? No. So you have to, so even after you realize the truth about yourself, nothing changes. You still get to be the person with the name on your driver's license. You still get to be the person in the mirror. You still get to be the father of your children, the partner to your wife. You still get to play all those games, right? But the difference that makes the difference is you know it's not real. In fact, because you know it's not real, you can play better. You can play with abandon like Buckminster Fuller did. You can let go of being afraid. There's no fear when you experience the truth of yourself. There's nothing to be afraid of. What can happen to you? Right? What can happen to you? It's just like they say in the Course in Miracles, right? What is real cannot be threatened. And in what they mean by that is what is real, like you, like awareness, right, which is like space, right, cannot be threatened. And what is unreal doesn't exist. If you actually got that and lived as that, you would be enlightened. You would be self-realized. You would be free. But not, you can't get it as a concept, and that won't work, right? Can't get it as a concept. The only way you can get it, here we go with the paradox. The only way you can get it is not to get it. What's that mean? How can you get something and the way you get it is not to get it? Well, the way you get it is not to get it is because you already got it. You can't get what you got. See how this doesn't make any sense, does it? The truth doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. That's one of the reasons it's not so popular. You know, it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. It's crazy. So one of the teachers that I was listening to recently said, the time between when you first recognize the concepts about the truth and when you first recognize the possibility that it offers you, and you know it's true and you know it's real, right? So you become a seeker, right? The time between then and when you actually fulfill on the possibility is called the dark night of the soul. Right? Because why? Because between those two places, you go through all the frustration, right? All the confusion, all the desperation, all the trying, all the failing. And yet those who have arrived at the place that there is no arrival to, those who have gotten to the other shore, that it's not the other shore, those who have experienced the gateless gate, tell you, don't give up. Don't give up. It only looks as bad as it looks. It's really not that bad at all. And when you do get to the realization, when the experience is had, and of course this is all language, it's all conceptual, but nonetheless, when you do get to the experience, you recognize that you've always been there. This really messes with your mind, doesn't it? You've always been there. There is no other place to be. You can't be anywhere else. You can't be anything other than what you already are. You can't. You can't do anything about it. But you will continue to try. Okay, I think that's enough. I don't want anybody to commit suicide here. See you next time.